selfish personal interest, they actually manipulate national data. It doesn't, we don't have a country. Honestly, leaders, if we can have an officer sitting in the Ministry of Health who comes from Nairobi or Mandera or Kakamega, and because of their own parochial interests, they can actually manipulate serious data such as that, then I think we have a problem. We do not have a country. So for me, really, this engagement is important. We are not saying that you will go back to do the formula. We are just telling you that at the end of the day, you are talking to politicians, and we are getting into the second half of the term where we have to go back to the people. I will not put my neck on the line because of English. I will not. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Senator of Kitui.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Two things. I want to take cognizance of the fact, as espoused by Senator Roba, that actually the final decision on this matter lies with us. But Madam Chair, I also want to correct a narrative that we cannot ask questions to CRA because they have already done their job. I'm not sure they have. For the good reason, Madam Chair, that there is something that Senator Alwale has raised, the issue of income distance. I have serious questions around that issue, Madam Chair. Where has that thing come from? Where has it come from? And I want, at some point, the chairman of the Finance and Budget Committee to confirm to this House whether the report that was tabled to them by CRA contained that parameter. Or it just happened as an afterthought to fix a predetermined outcome. But I speak, Madam Chair, I am not speaking just for the sake of speaking, but I want the chair of CRA, who you are saying we cannot ask questions, but I will ask questions, Madam Speaker. What she presented today is still the shared view of the Commission? Or is there a dissenting view by the Commission on the same presentation? Because, Madam Chair, we must have full disclosure on everything. If you come to us in bad faith, then we'll treat you in bad faith. If there is a different view of the Commission in regard to the recommendations, then let that view be presented to us. Because then how are you going to make a final decision on the final formula if we don't have all the information that is in the custody of CRA? Lastly, Madam Chair, the Commission for Revenue Authority must never pretend that they can assign themselves constitutional roles that don't belong to them. The decision on how much money is given to counties in the vertical sharing of revenue is not the decision of the CRA. It is a decision that is taken elsewhere. So the simulation that we're going to have here, let's have a simulation of the figures that we have, because that's already what we have. To come and tell us that there will be another 30 billion coming, and I assure you that 30 billion will come, and no county will lose money. You know, the CRA now is actually taking up the position of the president. Really, that can never be. That assurance can never be given by CRA. CRA should just give us a formula that will deliver value to us. The decision as to how much money goes to which level of government is not the decision of the CRA. I thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. It's good also to have the facts correct, that the Constitution says CRA is mandated to make recommendations. They are recommendations, so let's not belabor that one. Let's not remind them of their mandate. They have repeated it in their first slide.
Madam Chair, don't protect the CRA. What they are saying is on record. They have said it on record, and you are saying it on record.
Senator, just stick to what the Constitution says, because it makes us move forward. And then ours is to determine by resolution, as you have said correctly. So let's not belabor who did what and who said what. We know we are going to do it. Elge Marakwet, please.
Good. Thank you, Madam
Senator
Chair.
Elge Marakwet.
Thank you, Madam Chair. For the last 13 years, Madam Chair, about 10 counties have been paying salaries only. There is no meaningful development that they've done. In fact, from what Senator Sifuna said, they might lose $1 billion on a school feeding program. I think Elgeyo Marakwet County might want to be part of Nairobi County so that instead of feeding the children, you can give us that $1 billion to do development. Actually, we have been, I'm saying for the last 13 years, for the last 13 years, Madam Chair, about 10 counties have just been paying salaries. So I thought this formula now is coming in to help the 10 counties so that we can do something. Otherwise, in another 30, 40 years, some counties like Elgeyo Marakwet County will look like Kenya compared to Singapore from 1972. So we are happy, slightly happy on this particular formula. And I want to beseech our colleagues, please let us speak soberly, let us debate and see how we can help the small counties to grow. In fact, I thought with this particular formula, the minimum that should go to a county like Elgeyo Marakwet County, Lamu, Vihiga, should be 6 billion. But I've just seen Lamu is moving from 3.3 to 3.9, Elgeyo Marakwet County 4.8 to about 5.3. We'll still have a problem. So please let's discuss soberly and we trade in. We need to push and ensure Treasury allocates the 417 billion so that at least at the bare minimum we can accept and go by what CRA has given us. I know it will go to the Finance Committee and we'll discuss as House, but I'm asking colleagues, please let us also be fair so that we don't just continue paying salaries. Devolution was not meant for salaries alone.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Tanariva Mogatana.
Thank you, Chair. I wanted to add my voice to congratulate the presenter, the chair for CRA. Sitting here, I think you've done a decent job, but it's upon us to, as the parameters you have set, they can be swept away in one go. How do we create a situation where we are also being fair to us? I submit, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. I will come back to you, but let me go to Narok. Senator of Narok.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Let me begin by appreciating the good work that the Commission has undertaken. I know it is very difficult for you to be able to deal with politicians who want to send money to their counties. I empathize with my colleague from Elgeyo Marakwet. He would want to see this formula go without being challenged, but that's not the reality. Because as politicians, we know getting money from Treasury is like trying to fight as a third monkey on the Noah's Ark. It's very difficult. So I think what I wanted to know is this. You've shared information on unreliable data. We've also shared that we don't really, the credibility of the data that is coming from counties cannot be used to be able to assist CRA come up with the correct formula. What, according to you, would be the best thing for us to do to approach Treasury so that at least Parliament can allocate an additional 50 billion or like 450 billion to counties so that all counties get money? Because the current formula that you are proposing, knowing very well that we had proposed to send 407 billion, was it 407 billion to counties? But then we came back and they said 380. We fought you to 387. We are not sure we'll ever be able to get above 387. Maybe next year they might even come back and say, you stick there. If they do that, and we've passed this formula, how will I face the people of Narok when we lose almost 311 million back to them? So the question is, Based on your recommendation, because it's now upon us to go and internalize this, what is the best way to proceed if we are not sure of getting additional revenue? Do we stick to the third generation formula and move with those parameters? Or do we then make sure we put our foot down to get 450 billion and adapt to a new parameter? Because of course I want Elgeyo Marakwet to make money, but I also do not want to lose money as a county of Narok. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Senator Meru, Embu.
Asante Chair. Yangu mimi simpongezi chairperson wa CRA kwa sababu kitu ya kwanza wakati devolution ilianza au watu walisaidiwa sana na mambo ya devolution, na miaka 10 hawajafanya upelelezi waone ile pesa wamepatiwa kwa kipindi ya miaka 10 wakiwa ni marginalized community wamefanya kazi namna gani. Kwa sababu tukiwa maseneta tumeenda county kama Turkana, county nyingi, na wamepatiwa lot of money na taxi wanalipa ni kidogo, lakini hakuna kitu wamefanya hiyo pesa. Sasa hii kama Embu tutaruhusu. Kwa hivyo mambo yingine mpaka iangaliwe. Kwa hivyo mimi ningesema CRA kitu ya kwanza ingefanya upelelezi waone hiyo pesa wamefanya kazi na mradi, alafu ndio waongezewe pesa nyingine. Na sisi tunalipa a lot of tax. Kwa hiyo napinga. Embu inapinga kwa sababu tunaruhusu pesa.
Thank you, Senator. Senate Oversight Fund to you, Mr. Speaker. Senator of Machakos, then I'll go to...
Thank you, Madam Chair of the session. Mine is just to complain like other senators about the 32 counties that are supposed to be losing while others are gaining. We are all equal and we need and we demand for equal share. So every count should be allocated equitably, because like Machakos, we are losing more than 300 million. And just now when the chair of CRA was speaking, she said that she will make sure that no county loses, and already we are losing. And so most of the projects are stalled because they cannot continue, because the allocations that is there and what they had planned to do, they can't do it now. So me personally, I can never vote for this. We need equal share of allocation to every county. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Let me go back to Senator of Eddie, Senator Eddie.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, I find myself in the same precarious situation, just like the Chair of Finance and Budget, because I'm also in the Finance and Budget Committee, and I'd given a lot of feedback when this formula was first presented to us by CRA. I appreciate the effort that the CRA has put, but I am a little bit disappointed on some parameters. And I'll say them...
Honorable members, please let's listen to one another so that we don't repeat.
Yes,
if we allow members to be heard, especially the members of the committee that have already interrogated, it will help us move faster.
So I'm just going to encourage CRA to be more scientific in this formula generation. And there are going just to be 4 comments that I think that I'll reserve myself to our position or my position, because we are going to, hopefully I'll be finance and budget and I'll help with this together with the chair there. But the first principle that I wanted the CRA to actually look at, because we talked about this, what do you use as a base year in developing this formula? The base year cannot be futuristic, looking at what you hope to gain from the vertical sharing feature. The base year can either be the first year of devolution or the current year that we are in. That's the first principle. Because if you pay your formula on a futuristic amount of the future, you cannot get your formula right. The gain that any county is going to get is not as a function of the formula, but as a function of increase in revenue
that is not going to happen when the vertical share increase is registered.
Say Madam Washetena. That's the that's the formula.
Hello, yeah, I think this is better now. Then the second thing that I scientifically wanted to interrogate, CRA has told us that we have a problem with data in this country. And then CRA has gone ahead and introduced something called income distance. Income distance, in simple terms, is looking or comparing the per capita income of counties vis-a-vis the per capita income of the entire nation. Kept that simple. But you cannot get per capita income of counties without variables for why you are doing that. There has to be math. And the first math there would be, you have to show us in each county, did you look at their own source revenue as a result of coming with a per capita income? Did you look at things like compensations of all employees in those counties? Did you look at rent of the people in those counties? Did you look at all the royalties earned in those counties? Did you look at all the interest they make in those counties? And did you look at any other businesses like small enterprises in those counties that are not registered in the National Register? So I think that it is so untidy to even try to introduce income distance in this formula, because what you're going to do is that you're going to need the entire variables that computes what an income distance mean in economic terms. So that is the first flaw, because if there is somewhere where you need data, it is income distance to calculate that data, and it is not there to be able to calculate all the parameters to come up with an income distance. So it's not going to work. The third comment is a comment on geographical size. Article 6 of the Constitution defines this country's territorial integrity as both water and land, because there are communities that don't depend on land, they depend on water for their economic arrangements. Were you able to look at water as a function? Because if you go somewhere like Migori County, where almost a third of the population is dependent on economic activities in the water, the government there finds himself investing in water economic arrangements that is part of the money that is coming there. So that parameter is not well interrogated. The last one, Chair, population gets about 42%. Now, when population gets about 42%, that population only makes sense when you look at how that population affects the infrastructure of respective counties. I want to take one thing, for instance, roads. If you take roads, are you going to look at density versus distance, where, for instance, you'll go to some counties where density is alone? You'll get that a county like Kisii, for instance. They might be making a small road from Soneka to Kisii town, but the density there might force Kisii County government to spend more money to maintain that road because of the regular use of that road, vis-a-vis a distance that's affected in Garissa, where you have invested in a road and maybe what will affect it is vagaries of nature like flood. So when you come up with 42% on population, how did you compute that 42%? So in conclusion, Madam Chair, I am urging CRA that maybe in future, or even as we're going to consider this, can we be more scientific on the numbers that we're coming with in all these formulas? Because without the scientific basis for them, then we are going round and round, and we would rather just maintain the current formula, but then fight for more money to come to counties then we'll still be able to get more money regardless of the formula.
Thank you, Senator. I'll go to Senator Kiambu. I have we have consulted with the chair, and she has accepted. We take all your comments, then she can react once, because some of them are comments that belong to us, actually. Senator Kiambu?
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. First of all, I don't agree with those who are saying that this is just a proposal. And we should not question CRA. If they brought a good proposal, we'll applaud them. If they bring a bad proposal, we actually should even question their existence. So we should interrogate and dissect this proposal, because there's what we call institutional memory. For those who will come after, we'll have to follow the sentiment of the Senate. Madam Chair, I also want to note that this is one of the most important exercises that any Senate will carry. It happens once in 5 years. And if it happens once in 5 years, and you're living in times where some counties have been threatened with isolation, so this sharing of revenue should have that can you protect me, Madam Chair? We should have that at the back of our mind, Madam Chair.
Point of order, Chair.
That you discourage point of orders. You discourage.
Please,
allow me to speak.
Let's allow him to finish.
Thank you.
When you have your chance,
Yeah,
you can respond.
Yeah, you can respond then. Madam, what I'm trying to say, devolution came to cushion counties. Came to cushion counties from any executive government that would want to undermine a specific region. So when we are talking about this exercise, we have to have that at the back of our mind, that sometimes we can have a rogue government. So we have to make sure that every county is taken care of. Now, having said that, my question is, there is one parameter they call income distance. And Madam Chair, income distance, if you look at it, is more of the poverty index, Madam Chair, because they are basing it on gross county product per capita. And if they're doing that, I am aware they have based it or benchmarked it with Nairobi. So, yet counties are autonomous. How are you calling it a gross county product per capita based on the distance from your county to Nairobi, Madam Speaker? That is something that we need to interrogate, because counties are autonomous. Question number 2, the issue of land. If you look at the presentation that were given there, land in the third formula was 8%. In the fourth formula, it has gone to 9%. I don't know whether Kenya has acquired another territory, because land cannot increase. Why are we basing it on 9%? So I believe that if we interrogate this issue and make sure that we do not use it to either use their stable data, as you said, or lack of it thereof, sometimes we might give counties a little share from what they deserve or what they require if we go with this formula as given by CRA, Madam Chair. So, and I know this income distance issue, they borrowed it from India, Madam Speaker. But in India, it is a poverty index. So we are having two parameters of poverty index and income distance, which is talking about the same thing. So I do not understand, or I do not agree with those who are saying we should not interrogate this. It's just a proposal. Even Adani was a proposal. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Senator Gola, Beatrice.
Thank you, Session Chair. My observation to the Chair, CRA, is that I'm amused that in this country we can say we lack data, especially when I look at the parameters on water and sanitation. I think that is not being honest, because we have engaged these sectors at particular times and they're able to indicate the data of availability of these resources up to village levels. So the water secretary has at some point presented those data. How comes we have no data? Unless, Chair, the indication of the lack of data is meant to create a vacuum for somebody to do as they want. And two, Madam Speaker, I want to get what is the take of CRA on this affirmative action. I know the Senate has voted against it, but I can say recently I was in Marakwet, and you could see that offering certain services, taking into consideration the topography of the place, may be even 10 or 5 times how it would be done elsewhere. And then lastly, Madam Chair, I would like to get the take of CRA on incentive use of incentives as a way of allocating resources. That is, if a county is able to use as expected or not, are they able to introduce incentives?
Thank you. Let me move to Senator Murango.
Yes,
I'll come back again this way.
Asante sana mwenyekiti wa zamu. Kwanza sijui kama maswali ambayo tunauliza itakuwa na maana, kwa sababu nimesikia kwamba ripoti ishaletwa katika kamati, ama itakuwa ni kama kuchota maji na nyavu, kwa sababu ripoti kama imefika, hata tunaosema hapa sijui kama ni ya maana. Lakini hebu niseme yangu ni moja tu. Mwenyekiti wa zamu, nasikia sasa wale maseneta ambao wanasikia kama wanapoteza pesa wanapinga, wale wanapata wanaunga mkono. Na unajua ni kweli, kwa sababu mwamba ngoma ngozi uvuta kwake. Lakini ningepeana tu story tu kidogo. Niseme ya kwamba kuna daktari moja aliambia mgonjwa wake kwamba anafaa kule akunywe maziwa, mayai na nyama ya ng'ombe na sausage ya nguruwe ndio aweze kupona. Ng'ombe akatoa maziwa akaenda, kuku akataka mayai akaenda, nguruwe wakambaki, kwa sababu ndio yule mgonjwa apate sausage lazima angekufa. Sisi na kina Sifuna ndio hawa sasa nguruwe ambao tunapoteza. Wale wengine kama Senator Regeo Marakwet ndio kuku, kwa sababu ni ndogo atage aende, Karungo akamuliwe aende. Kwa hivyo panapo kupoteza, mwenyekiti wa zamu, itakuwa ni ngumu sana hata tukiongea leo ama mwaka mzima. Asante sana.
Thank you, Senator. Senator of Nyamira.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Speaker. Those of us who are in the last Senate, this matter was very emotive. And the Governor for Mandera, we closed ranks to ensure that counties in northern